can see that or not. That's how long these bolts are. They're ridiculously too long. See, making that noise. See it there, look. That bolt snapped there. Look at that. Look at that noise. Absolute bastard. This is definitely out of alignment. Right, I've slackened all those nuts off. Get that right. I slackened all those nuts off there. See, those won't come off because it's got to go back a little bit. There we are, nuts off there. And this should go back now, like so. It's not easy to turn once you get that nut off there. I'm hoping to get this whole shaft back so I can pull it off. Woo! As you can see there, I pulled that shaft back. I've had to loosen those, that's a wadding you put in there. I forgot it's called stern gland tube. I've had to loosen that off. There's bolts there, look, so I could slide it back a little bit. I've got to undo these now, these ones, and then get this off. That's the engine, that's the gearbox free, look. Got to get this bolts out. That's the snap one, look. You bastard. Totally the wrong washer. It's totally the wrong bolt. As you can see there, look, all the threads have worn out. All that power's been just resting on those thread edges. So that's wrong washers, wrong bolts, wrong everything on that. That's all loose now, look. Hopefully I've got any more bolts to get off. I'll try and get that out now somehow. Oh, there we are. What's this? What's this? Is it now then? Now then? Is it going to come off? Come on, baby. Oh, there we are. And that's the offending article there, look. Woo! It looks fairly good nick. It's got this cross member here. It's probably as a strengthening strut. I've got to take a picture of this, and I'll get a video. Actually. You got trying to look to see whether that's out of alignment or not. I think it might be. Let's just turn the whole thing. Oh shit, I left it in gear. Might be. In here, look, I managed to scrape that bottom there. That's pretty rough, isn't it? So I'm going to scrape that out and put some crust on my rust. Is a must. Crust all that, and I'm going to paint that. While I was in there searching around, I found remnants of old snap bolts. It's probably a problem in the past. Nylon nuts though, which is a good thing. Yeah, so it's been a problem in the past. Anyway, fingers crossed I get a new part for tomorrow. That's all the rust I got out of that section under there. I can't quite get to the corner at the back. I can't quite get to the corner. I've cleaned it out as much as I can behind there. I've dried it with a rag. It's so hard. I had to rest my head on the exhaust to get my arm, trying to get my arm through there, lie on the engine. Woo! Let that go black, and then let it dry for a bit. Okay, I've just put a second coat of crust on my rust. I keep calling it Vacuum, but it's crust, but it's the same thing. Rust inhibitor. That's the second coat gone on. It's not actually drying very well in there because it's, if you're below the waterline, steel is always very, very damp. I've also checked the prop. The prop itself, there's absolutely no play in there whatsoever. And it doesn't even feel like there's, sometimes you get a little ridge that wears out the shaft itself. Doesn't even feel like there's a wear mark in that either, so I'm very happy with the progress so far. There you go, look, that's what it's supposed to look like. And there's the new one, 87 quid. And there's the old one, look. Look at the difference in those. That's what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to have those inserted. Look at these all come out. Look at the size of the hole. The difference there. Look at the difference in these as well, look, these ramps. Look at the ramp there, look, see that? Look at the ramps, how they've worn out, look, see that one? That one there. Look at the ramps, how they're supposed to be, look. You see that? You look, see them? That's completely worn out, that ramp there, look. That ramp is worn out there. The whole thing is just completely and utterly worn out. These red ones are specifically designed, and when you get this back onto the engine on the gearbox, that red one's designed to get a feeler gauge in there, so you can measure the distance. You measure the distance from there, and then again there, and again there. So you measure it all the way around. If it's straight, if the gap's the same, then your engine's lined up. So that's what I'm going to do. And you get 4 extra built bolts with it as well, look. Beauty. Excellent. Oh yeah, so excited. Here we go. As you can see, that's the red bolt there, look. You've got to measure that gap all the way around gearbox. So that goes on that side, like that, onto the gearbox. These locating, they're not ramps, they're locating dowels really. They locate onto the engine. So let's go and fit that and then see how we get on. This is the old bolts that were fitted, look. See those, how they've worn out, completely worn out. That's why they snap. That's why they snap, because they just wear out. That's what it should be. It should be shouldered. So that shouldered bolt fits perfectly inside the spaces inside there, look. It's got no play whatsoever. So they fit right inside there. That's another fault with that. It's the wrong bolts, wrong washers. Look at the washer there, look. How it's all loose. It's a wrong bolt, wrong washers. All right. I've just fed the bolts onto there. As you can see there, look. I'm going to put the nuts on the back of here now, and then tighten that down. There is a torque setting for these 27 Newton meters for these M8s. I haven't got a torque wrench on me, and I can't see how I'm going to get a torque wrench on there. I could get on this side, couldn't I? Right, I'll have to go and get a torque wrench from my van and sort that out. Alrighty, right, I've got the nuts on the back of there, and then tighten that down loosely, and then get me a torque wrench. I've tightened these up in an opposing fashion, so I've tightened one up there, and then I've tightened one up there, and then did rotate it that way. So that way you're going to get an even, you're going to get it going unevenly, rather than just doing one there and one there and one there. So it goes like going like that, you see. So I do it opposing bolts. That's on tight, but it's not torque wrench down yet. I'm going to try and get a torque wrench from my van if I've got one. That's the gap there that I'm talking about. You're supposed to measure that gap there, and apparently you measure it there, and then you measure it there, and then you measure it there, to make sure this gap, so when you spin all this lot, it all lines up, and that is your gap. You get a feeler gauge in there and gap that, and so it goes. As you can see there, I'm just using the that shelf to put the spanner on so I can tighten it up. These bolts are 8.8s, so 8.8s is 27 Newton meters, which is not a lot really, or 20 foot-pounds per square inch, which is not a lot. 100 Newton meters, which is ½ inch. There's your scale there, look. I'm just using a long reach socket to tighten for the moment. 27 is not massive, so I know a sort of idea what that kind of feels like. So there we are. These are special nylock nuts, so they're self-locking, so I don't need any Loctite or anything like that on them, or thread lock fluid, so they'll do for now. Right, the bolts are on. I'll tighten them up. I've tightened that one. And once again, I'm going to do the opposing bolts. I'm going to turn it around 180 degrees. I'm going to tighten that one. Then I'll tighten that one and that one. Again, because I can't get a torque wrench on these nuts at the back there, I'm going to rest the spanner against that, against this bit of metal here, and then I'm going to tighten it with a spanner on this one. These are 17mm spanners, both nuts and bolts, so pretty straightforward. I'm going to tighten that. The engine is tighter at the bottom than it is at the top by a fraction, so it just means the engine at the back has got to come down a little bit at the back. No, sorry, up a little bit at the back, a fraction at the back. So the feeler gauge levels are all the same all the way around. So I've just got to undo these bolts, these nuts here, and turn that slightly just to bring the engine up just a fraction to adjust that gap on there. Okay, let's get some tools. When I put this feeler gauge in and I turned this, it became very, very slack on that side and very, very tight on this side. So I've just had to undo the mounts, that one was seized, and move the engine over very, very slightly so the feeler gauge is the same tension all the way around now. The top was extremely slack and the bottom extremely tight, so I've had to raise the engine at the back slightly to make the top tighter and the bottom more slack. So that's perfect now. That was completely utterly slack. That's now just enough tension on there now. It's within tolerance. A little bit slack on that side. It's within 0.25mm of tolerance. And the bottom is lovely and just pinching now, and this side is just pinching, and the top is just pinching, so it's probably just an absolute fraction loose on that side, but by a thou or something. I think that'll do. Oh, wow, what a palaver that was, lining that up. I had to adjust these engine mounts by putting mole grips onto the top, unbolting that bolt, that lock bolt there, the nut, unscrewing the nut, and then the nut underneath, count how many turns you're going up, so 1, 2, 3, 4, same the other side, because the engine's coming up like that, and then you check your feeler gauges, and then keep doing it until you got the right height. I think I've got the right height now. It's a lot of fiddly work, lying around on your belly, very hard, but it's done now. I've also painted that bay there, got the rust out, put a coat of paint on it, and there's your new coupling. Just got to run it up now to temperature, spin it up in gear and see how it goes.